Welcome back to the NWR Aussie Resources Conference. Next up, we have Kingfisher Mining. ASX code is KFM. James Farrell's joining us. He's the managing director. And I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, they've got a rocket under their share price at the moment. They've got a breakthrough rare earths discovery. They're over there in Western Australia in the Ashburton and the Gascoyne areas. But James can tell the story so much better. James, welcome to the conference. Over to you.
Thank you, Kerry. Excuse me. It's great to be with you this morning, and thank you everyone for listening in. I think that intro was really good. We do have a breakthrough rare earth discovery, and it is in arguably the hottest postcode for rare earths in all of the world at the moment. So please watch this space evolve. Straight into our disclosures here. All the sources of information in this presentation are here. So this is on the ASX if anybody wants to pick this up and have a bit of a read. So why Kingfisher? Well, we are about rare earths now. It was a breakthrough discovery in a new area. The rare earths in the area that we're working hadn't previously been seen or known before. And because of that, we were able to take up a really significant land holding. Again, that represents something that we can work through and build on over the coming years. So we see that as a strong growth opportunity. And we've got a really experienced team, with exploration and all the way through to operations. So a team that can take this company through that stage. Moving on to that team, of course, it's me as the executive director and CEO. I'm an exploration and project development geologist. And that's really what floats my boat. I get pretty excited about getting out there in the field and wandering around and picking up exciting rocks. We've got Warren Hallam as our chairman. Warren's a pretty well-known guy in the industry, very, very steady hand, very experienced. He's highly engaged with the company. He's very, very supportive. We also have Scott Hufferdine. He's the operations director in at Pantoro. Another great Western Australian success story there, a company that's gone from strength to strength. Scott's heavily involved in that on the operations side. Again, a geologist, a lot of industry experience, a lot of knowledge about Western Australian geology and developing and progressing projects. And also we have Adam Schofield, and he's the founding director. So he put the original assets of Kingfisher together and brought the team together, and he stays with us now. So quick, moving on to the corporate overview. So this is, we've just completed a capital raise. So this is sort of going to change in the near future, but essentially through that capital raise, we were really, really heavily supported on the market. So, thanks to investors for jumping on board and for the strong support there. We will be issuing 10 million new shares as part of that raise. So that'll take us, with the board contribution, we've also come in, looking at contributing 270,000 to that raise with shareholder approval. So that'll take us to about 53 million shares on issue. So a very, very tight capital structure. And again, that's something, that is something that we jealously protect, I suppose. We like our capital structure. We like those few shares on issue. And we do think that that's a great opportunity as well for growth in the company's, value. So looking at where we stand now, pre the raise, the board held 15.5% of the register. I think we'll see us come down to about 13.6 with our uptake now. And again, the top 20 is holding nearly 50% of the company. Looking at where we sit in terms of market cap and versus other companies in the rare earth space and other companies in the region. The region is a hot region. So Hastings are in the Gascoyne developing at the moment. Dreadnought have made a fantastic discovery up there at Yin. And the other company that's emerging rapidly is Lanthanine. That's the LNR code there. So, we're seeing companies here with $400 or $500 million market caps and Lanthanine there who are at a similar stage of development to us with a market cap in the order of 55 or $60 million. So still, significantly higher capitalization than Kingfisher. So turning quickly to our exploration projects here. So Our flagship is certainly now the Gascoyne. This area is really, really exciting. This is an emerging province. We expect to see a lot happen in the region over the coming years. We also have our Bullaloo project up in the Ashburton Basin. That's a copper and gold project. Again, we hold a fairly substantial amount of tenure there. It's a place that had existing copper and gold discoveries when we took it on. And as well, we've added to that with new copper discoveries and new mineralisation that we found there. At this stage, I think it's fairly safe to say that the rare earths and the Gascoyne are going to remain our strong focus as we go forward. That was
going to be my question, actually, James. Was is Ashburton going to fall a little bit? I mean, you'll still be focused on it, but Gascoyne.
We're continuing to work up there. Yes, we've got an airborne survey kicking off up there late this month. But our strong focus, where all our attention is really in the Gascoyne. It's just too much of an appealing opportunity not to pour that much energy and effort into it. So jumping on to why rare earths, and I guess there's a lot happening in the space. They're a high value commodity. Looking forward, there's a big shortfall in what we can produce to meet the demand. And this is all about electrification. So NdPr, neodymium, praseodymium, they're really important metals in permanent magnets. And of course, with electrification, that's all to do with EVs, so electric vehicles, as well as wind turbines. So that's where the demand's coming from. And there's a few other things in there as well on the supply side, with the market traditionally being very strongly controlled by China. So there's some interest in there and seeing diversification in the market, which is certainly driving things along at this stage as well. Okay, so back to the lay of the land. This is where we are in the Gascoyne. So we sit 100 kilometres to the south of Yin and Yangibana. Essentially, the mineralisation here is associated with carbonatite intrusion. So they're coming along or intruding along some very large-scale structures, deep plumbing systems, if you like, that run deep into the Earth's crust, and that enables the carbonatites to come up and form the mineralisation. So ours are all intruding along the Chowba Shear Zone, and up north at Yin and Yangibana, there's a great big deep-seated structure, the Lions River. So, very similar geological setting, same kind of mechanisms as the formation of the deposits up there at Yin and Yangibana, as well as down in our area and at our MICK well discovery. So making the discovery down in this area did give us the opportunity to take up a really large land holding, and the Chowba Shear Zone appears over about a strike length of about 62 kilometres, so a very large scale structure, and we were able to take up 54 kilometres of that target and really start progressing with the exploration and cracking into it. So with that, I'll turn straight to the MICK well discovery. So this is the MICK well area. It is a breakthrough. The mineralisation and carbonatites were previously not known in this area. Our discovery hole is there. It's drill hole number 4. So our first hole we put in to the MICK well 2 area, that was just January of this year. We got those results in 12 metres at just over 1% rare earth. So that put us straight into the sort of resource grades of Hastings with that first drill hole into the area. So very, very exciting breakthrough. We've since been back through and followed up with more drilling, and hole 11 is really pointing to the potential in the area. So hole 11, we actually saw a different style of mineralisation, which was dominantly monazite. So 5 metres at nearly 3.5% total rare earths is what that hole returned. But that's about 100 metres down hole, so 65 metres vertically. We can see the systems open. Not too long after that, we really made another breakthrough. So working through the area, following up the thorium high anomalies in the geophysics, the radiometrics, that is, we made a breakthrough to the 500 metres to the north, and that's where we found this northeast trending corridor of parallel lodes, and they consist of monazite, and in some cases more recently we've identified massive monazite. So for people listening in, that's a little bit like massive sulfides. We're seeing grades up to 40% rare earth in that monazite dominated mineralisation, 6.5% NdPr. So we're talking exceptionally high grade material there. Together, we've marked out about 2.2 kilometres of strike of this material now. That is in 4 parallel lodes. And at this stage of the game for us, we're looking to get in there and drill those targets as soon as the end of October. That's the planning. The rig's booked. The drill sites are ready, or they've all been planned, the access tracks as well. So we're looking to get in there then, get that program underway, and hopefully we start seeing the first of the results before Christmas of this year. The hard rock isn't our only discovery in the area, though. A couple of weeks ago, we announced the follow-up results from additional drilling we did at the original MICK well, historic MICK well target. And we're seeing some really exceptional results being returned there from kaolinite clays. So essentially what's happening here is those large-scale structures that make up the 54-kilometre corridor that crosses our tenure, they're very broad structures, they're very deep-seated, and they're weathering out, and the carbonatites and the alteration that's within those structures is weathering down to clays, and the rare earth elements are remaining in those clays. So from rare earth element intersections from surface, we're seeing 40 metres and 50 metres. So we're looking at 40 vertical metres, 100 metres of width. The drilling now has shown very continuous mineralisation over 600 metres of strike, and our interpretation of this feature points to 6.5 kilometres of strike in this area alone on this one structure, which is part of many which make up this corridor. So look, early days for this particular discovery, but it is pointing to scale, and it is part of what clearly is a very large scale system. And the more work we do, the more confident of that we become, and the more, this is emerging as a whole new region for this style of mineralisation. And of course, right on the doorstep of Hastings. Okay, so looking forward, the work we've got to do still this year, there's a lot going on. We've got teams on site mapping and sampling. We're having a week off site this week. We're back there next week. Again, that mapping continues, and we're focusing in on the next 10 kilometres of strike, particularly to the west of the MICK well area. In that area, we can see a lot of thorium anomalies, which is how we found the outcropping mineralisation at MICK well too. So really, really high priority to follow up those opportunities. We're also flying more airborne magnetics and radiometrics down here. We've only got 40 or 50% of the area of our tenure under high resolution geophysics. So really high priority to infill that and start the process of, that longer lead process of generating new targets within that area. Again, we see a lot of potential. We see from the very coarse imagery, the right sorts of magnetics and radiometrics responses we're looking for already. So very much looking forward to getting that done and getting the results. As well, we will be looking to get that drilling done, as I mentioned, and looking to get those results out, hopefully the first of it before Christmas, as we get the samples into the laboratory and things like that. So really a lot to look forward to in the news, and I guess a lot of opportunities for the company to keep its growth and keep moving along into next year. So a quick recap here of the investment highlights. I think, we've covered it pretty thoroughly, but we are working, it is a breakthrough discovery. It is greenfields. These rocks and this mineralisation weren't known in this area before Kingfisher. We've got great neighbours that are really showing what can be done in the area, with Hastings developing and Dreadnought's fantastic discovery there at Yin. I expect to see that discovery grow and grow and grow as Dreadnought keep going with that work. We have very similar geology. It's highly prospective. being the first mover, we were able to take up a really, really significant land holding. We see all of this coming together with our tight capital structure as and where we're sitting now at a market cap, quite a bit of cash in the bank as well post our capital raise. A great opportunity for growth. And we continue with a full schedule of work. And Kerry,
what a story! What a
that's
story!
us.
Huh, what a story! And I can sense a great excitement, ladies and gentlemen. Those who are on the call, this is your chance to ask questions. Pop your questions in the Q&A box, and I will make sure that James answers them.
Please do. I'm waiting and looking forward to them.
Well, my first question to you, actually, James, is you mentioned hard rock and the clays. What's the difference between those when it comes into sort of developing them, and how difficult is one versus the other? Is one preferred to the other?
Different process completely. So the clays are something that people look to recover fairly easily with an acid leach, so a lower cost alternative, whereas the hard rock is really what's happening with much of the other development around Western Australia. So looking up the road to Hastings and to Dreadnought, again, both hard rock, monazite dominant mineralisations like ours. And there is significant investment in the area at the moment as well in monazite. So the investment in rare earths is something in the order of 3 billion in Western Australia, and that's amongst Hastings developing their mine, expansions at Mount Weld with Linus, Kalgoorlie plant, as well as Iluka investing in a monazite cracking plant at Eneabba, which is sort of in the neighbourhood of us. It's 500 kilometres to our south. So very, very interesting developments there, and also investment.
Will's asking when's drilling start. I think you said October, didn't you? End
of October's the rig's booked for. So we booked that rig as we saw the visual results come out on that hole 11, the 5 metres at 3.5. We got a good look at that. And we only had the rig for so long as part of that program, but we knew we'd be back. So we booked that rig straight away.
Twin Turbo saying, are you extending the previous holes into the target zone? And if so, when's that happening, and kind of expected assays?
At this stage, given the continuity and the grades that we can see up in that northeast trending corridor, our focus in the MICK Well 2 area is going to be that area. We've not identified the outcropping mineralisation where we've been drilling previously. So we probably think that area is a little bit more structurally complex. So we'll be moving on up to that 500 metres to the north and really focusing on that broad target. 300 metres width is that zone with multiple lodes in it, and lodes that we can trace out on the ground. So we think best bang for buck is to get in there and drill that.
He's just also said, when are you drilling around the 40% rock chip area?
That's part of the October program. So we've been working in that area. We've been marking out those outcrops, and it will be it's part of that program before Christmas with results. Fingers crossed from me. We'll see the visuals and we'll have a good idea. So we're expecting to see news come out to the market.
David's asking something. This is interesting. Are you going to production? They're in exploration, so there's a big gap between exploration and production, I think. But I think more importantly, saying, how far behind Hastings do you think you are from production if you go down that road?
Look, that's an interesting question. I think Dreadnought will really show what can be done. They've moved from the first drill holes to drilling a resource grid. In that, there's quite an amount of work. Hastings was a discovery that was made about 30 years ago, but I think now with Hastings, paving the way and doing that work, proving up flow sheets and all those sorts of things. And now with this market, I think we'll see the rare earth developments move along at a similar pace to the other discoveries and things that we have in Western Australia. So it's an early stage exploration breakthrough, and we expect to go through that cycle as we get towards expanding upon the discovery.
All right, still got more questions coming in, but we're running out of time. Kim's just asking, well, first of all said, well done, but it did say, why such a small raise, and when do you expect options to list?
The options, I think we'll see those coming up in the next couple of weeks, but when they actually start trading will be depending on shareholder approval. So, that could be late November. What was the other part of the question? There was something else.
Why such a small raise?
Why such a small raise? I guess the raise that we did, we really feel that we have plenty of cash in the bank now to see us through the next stages and really start building upon that opportunity that we've got there with a very tight structure and very few shares on issue. So at the end of the raise, we're going to have close to $6 million in the bank. And with that, that's a lot of drilling. That's a lot of work on the ground. And we do think that's a very solid platform for building from. So essentially the raise was a trade-off between diluting our capital structure and providing all the funds we need to move forward.
Nice answer. Final question, guys, because I've run out of time. How much focus will the clay targets get opposed to hard rock?
The hard rock is certainly our primary focus, but the clays are also too irresistible to, discontinue work on. So we're going to continue working on the clays. There'll be more drill holes into the clays, but right now, the hard rock with those grades, with what is essentially massive monazite in some of the mineralisation, sticking out of the ground, we just have to follow that up as an absolute priority.
Well, as one of the questions from Kim said, well done, James. What an exciting time for you. Breakthrough discovery. Brilliant presentation. Thanks so much for joining us at the NWR Aussie Resources Conference.
Thank you for having me in. Thanks everyone for listening in. If you want to talk more, hit me up on our info@kingfishermining.com.au email address. I'm there. I will respond to that with any other questions. So thank you again for listening.
Thanks, James.